You've heard the term before, right? Government shutdown. It pops up in the news every few years, and it's this really weird thing in American politics, almost like a self-inflicted wound. But what does it actually mean? I mean, how can the government of a global superpower just stop working? Let's get into it.
That sounds like something out of a political thriller, doesn't it? But it's not fiction. It's real. This is a deliberate choice, something that happens because of political gridlock, and it just brings the huge machinery of the US government to a screeching halt. And you know who feels it first? The very people who keep that machine running every single day. So yeah, let's start right there, with the human cost. Because before it ever becomes a big headline on the news, a shutdown is a very real, very personal crisis for millions of families. We're talking about a huge number of people. Roughly 2 million Americans work in federal civilian jobs. And the moment a shutdown hits, this entire workforce gets sliced right down the middle into two groups, each facing a very different and frankly very difficult situation. Okay, so here's how that split works. On one side, you've got your so-called essential personnel. Think about air traffic controllers, border patrol agents, folks in law enforcement. They have to go to work. It's the law. But they don't get paid. They're basically working for an IOU from the government. Then you have the other side, the furloughed employees. These folks are sent home. They are literally forbidden from doing their jobs, can't even check a work email. And just like that, their paychecks stop completely. And that right there is the heart of the crisis for these families. People will say, oh, they'll get back pay eventually. And yeah, usually they do. But that doesn't help when your mortgage is due next week. The bills don't stop coming. So the immediate financial stress is just immense. We're talking draining savings accounts, maxing out credit cards, all while dealing with this unbelievable uncertainty. All right, but this isn't just about the federal workforce. The impact of a shutdown is like a stone thrown into a pond. The ripples spread out and touch everyone. It goes way beyond a DC political drama and starts affecting daily life all across the country. All of a sudden, things you take for granted just stop working. Planning a trip to a national park? Nope, it's closed. Waiting on a passport? Well, that's going to slow to a crawl. Hoping for that tax refund? It's delayed. And it gets more serious. Food safety inspections? They're scaled way back. Small businesses trying to get a loan? That whole process is frozen. Critical scientific research? Put on pause. I mean, the list of what gets disrupted just goes on and on. And it's not just about losing services, right? It's a huge hit to the economy. It's pretty simple. When hundreds of thousands of people suddenly lose their income, they stop spending money. That means local coffee shops, restaurants, car mechanics, they all get hurt, especially in towns with a lot of federal workers. It creates this cloud of uncertainty that shakes consumer confidence and puts the brakes on the whole economy. And this isn't just a vague feeling. We can actually put a price tag on this chaos. That massive shutdown back in 2018-2019, the longest one ever, the estimated cost to the US economy was a staggering $11 billion. Think about that, $11 billion. Just gone, wiped out by political gridlock. So that's the what. Now for the how. How is this even possible? How can a government just decide to shut itself down? To understand that, we need to pop the hood and look at the political machinery that actually triggers this kind of paralysis. Believe it or not, it all boils down to one key law, the Anti-Deficiency Act. It's an old law, but it's incredibly powerful. And all it says is this: federal agencies are not allowed to spend a single dime that Congress hasn't officially given them. So if there's no funding bill passed, there's no money to spend. Period. That's the legal off switch for the government. So the chain reaction is actually pretty simple. Step 1. Congress doesn't pass the spending bills that are needed to keep the lights on. Step 2. This creates a massive funding gap. And bam, Step 3. The Anti-Deficiency Act kicks in and forces the government to halt everything that isn't considered absolutely essential. It's a direct, almost automatic consequence of that failure in Congress. Now, this whole shutdown thing isn't brand new. But what is new is how often it happens and how long these shutdowns last. They've definitely become a much more common feature of our politics. You can trace it from the fights over budget cuts in the 90s to the big battles over healthcare and border security more recently. It really seems like the stakes just keep getting higher, and it pretty much mirrors the rise in political polarization. And this really gets to the core of the problem. The budget process is supposed to be about responsible governing, right? Figuring out how to spend our tax dollars wisely. But it's been turned into a political weapon. It's become a high-stakes game of chicken, where one side or the other holds the entire government's funding hostage to try and force through their agenda. And when you look back, You see the same pattern play out again and again. Every single major shutdown was sparked by some intense partisan fight. And every single time, the result was the same: a ton of public frustration and real, measurable economic pain. It's a depressingly consistent cycle. Ideological fight leads to national mess.
Okay, so we've talked about the immediate chaos and the economic hit, but what about the long game? What are the lasting effects? Let's zoom out one more time and talk about the invisible damage, the stuff that sticks around for years after the open for business signs go back up.
This is the stuff that's really corrosive over time. For one thing, you get this institutional brain drain. I mean, talented people, real experts, they just get fed up with the instability and they leave public service for good. For those who stay, morale just tanks. On the world stage, it makes the US look unstable and unreliable. And maybe the worst part? Right here at home, it just chips away at our trust in government's ability to do even the most basic thing. And all of this really leads to a pretty fundamental question, doesn't it? Our whole system of government is built on debate and compromise. So at what point does using a shutdown as a political tactic stop being a strategy and start being, well, self-sabotage? It's something to really think about the next time you hear that Washington is heading